Mr. President, Rwanda has been under threat for 25 years, and yesterday you spoke about new threats that you are facing. Could you elaborate on this? From where do those threats come? From where are they? Thank you.
Let's have another question. Okay, sir. Thank you.
To forget. I think the answer lies even in the question. There is no such a thing as a new threat. It's a continuation and a change of forms of threat against our stability, which we have been investing in for the last 25 years, as you said. It changes the face, it changes everything, but it's the same. When in my speech, I wasn't referring really to an entirely new emerging threat. It was just the threat we have always faced over the last 25 years, saying that for the change of that form in any way, I was just saying those people who are behind it should bear in mind that instability is not a good thing for anyone. It's not good for us. It's not good for even others. And I was saying in defense of what I referred to as the children or the future of Rwanda and its stability, I think we are just prepared for that. As we fought many threats and challenges before at the beginning, I think we are now better prepared for any threats that would come today.
Let's take another question. If you can have the microphone here, please, at the front on this side. Mandela, thank you.
Bonjour, je suis Louis Kemayou, je suis camerounais, je suis journaliste indépendant. Je le dirai peut-être en anglais. My question is very simple, Mr. President. 25 years back, your country has been facing a genocide, the genocide against the Tutsi. Your country is recovering from it and recovering very fast. When you compare the situation with other countries who haven't reached this high end, like Ivory Coast, like Central African Republic, or like Mali or Burkina Faso, why do you think it is so difficult for them to recover from situations who haven't been such terrific like what has happened in Rwanda? That's my first question. And the second leg is, that is now almost 100 days. Louis Mushikiwabo has become the new General Secretary of Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. Do you feel happy with the way she's ruling this organization?
For the first one, I will say we have concentrated on our problems because they are for us to address. We have had friends, we have had partners and support from many corners of the world. But ultimately, we are the ones either to use this kind of support proper and make progress, or to waste it. So I always want to confine myself to our problems rather than talking about other people's problems, because they may be similar, but they also may be different. And the handlers of those problems, I'm sure, will be different as well. And the nature of problems and the way they are handled and by who will always create that difference. So that is how our problems and how we have addressed them will be different from the problems and how they are being addressed, whether in other parts of our continent. But what is very central, that is common to all of us, and I would not hesitate to say this: people of any country, in any situation, have got to figure out how to address them together. And they have also got to understand that it starts with them. Nobody, from our own experience, will come from anywhere else to come and address your problems, at least the core of those problems. People can support. I've just said we have benefited a lot from friends and partners and well-wishers who have invested with us their time, their effort, their money. But that comes to nothing if the people of the country aren't in the forefront to use that kind of support to benefit them. That's what I can say. So whether Central Africa, Ivory Coast, or Mali, or wherever, the common thing, or Rwanda, the common thing is, can people of these countries, Rwanda, Mali, Central African Republic, wherever there are problems, start with themselves and say, what are we determined and ready to do for ourselves, and then we benefit from partnerships. That's all I can say. But on the lighter note, I mean, on a more positive note, is that there is no problem that is insurmountable, as you have seen, even when it looks so. So I can only say to those countries that even with the big problems they have, after all, they can really stand up to those problems and address them. It's possible. For Francophonie, well, I can't really make, first of all, it is not up to me to assess. Francophonie is a big organization that brings together many countries that speak French, and the decision to entrust Louise Mushikiwabo as the Secretary General with this important responsibility will, in the end, make the kind of assessment to know whether he's doing what is expected of her or doing different things. And it's too early. Well, I'm sure in the 100 days, she must be trying to orient herself and other office bearers as to how to shape things, and with the aim of taking the organization in a good direction.
We'll take a question from the front here.
Yeah. Mr. President, François Misser, La Libre Afrique and Die Tageszeitung from Berlin. You said Rwanda was well prepared in case of any threat. But my question is also that in your skills of former intelligence officer, what is the assessment you are doing of the danger of war? Because after all, there are indications that some months ago in the Nyungwe forest or elsewhere, I mean, some people have been trying to destabilize Rwanda. And my question is, again, is a war plausible, possible? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think war is something anybody in his right senses should be rushing toward. I don't think sometimes the use of word war it becomes loose, and even maybe some people may use it carelessly, but when you think of what that means in terms of lives and other things wasted, it's not the first or even the second or third thing you come to. I think that in my world, in my understanding, is something that comes by conditions that have more or less just emerged because there were no other alternatives. And to assure you, as you also said, referred to the Nyungwe situation, probably those who have been behind that have been actually having in mind to provoke a war in which, for them, they mistakenly think they would benefit in terms of saying, you see, this is the problem. The problem is not the other one we had before the war. And this is the way we read it. We read it as provocations and things so that someone may want to provoke you into a situation so that you look the same. When a country may be having problems and they're saying they're trying to hide the problems they have of their own, and they create a scenario where when a war happens, then you are all the same. So you manage to hide. So we refused to be provoked into that situation, and we kept communicating to the people that and to others that we will manage these problems as they cross our border. We are not thinking about crossing a border. So war can only happen in our case, specifically, on our territory. If somebody creates a war here, that is but we are not thinking of creating a war outside of our place. This is what I was saying was a kind of warning to people, one, who think about war. Secondly, who think about war on our territory. Because war is assumed to be between or among more than one parties. So you can't fight with yourself. But you can't also determine what somebody else is thinking about doing against you. So that if somebody brings war to you, then you fight it. But even when you thought, according to you, war is not a necessity, or you are not even going to provoke a war yourself, but somebody else might bring it to you. So my whatever statement I have made, it is in that context. But this is why I'm saying, if somebody has ideas that they want to bring war to Rwanda, I was telling them, they should also be aware that of the danger they face if they do that. This is only what I intended to say, and that's what I said. But also assuring everyone that this Rwanda, with its history of suffering, has grown in all bounds, including the strength, the capacity to wage a war in defense of its stability and peace. It's what I wanted to convey. So that you hear statements from all over the world, from Brussels, from other places in Europe, from other places in Africa, including neighbours, where some Rwandans who could not do better things of staying around and contributing to the development of this country are talking about war. Even in that situation of Nyungwe you mentioned, if you follow, you could see on the social media and, people celebrating, talking about how they are now overrunning some places in the country and so on. I just want to tell you that that is just a passing story. Those people don't know what they are talking about.
We'll take a question from the third row. Mwai.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Collins Mwai. I write for the New Times Daily. What are your thoughts on the performance or lack of it of the ICTR and the mechanism and the residual mechanism that came after ICTR, especially considering that during the term of the former Judge Meron, we saw early release of convicts. And what are your expectations of the new judge who just joined, Judge Kamel? Thank you.
Well, for now, I have no comment. I have no expectations. That is all behind some of us, and let us move forward where we can move forward, and I would leave that matter to where it belongs.
The lady, we'll start with the lady, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gunilla von Hall. I am a Swedish journalist. I work for Daily Svenska Dagbladet. I have a question on justice. There's been about 1,000 indictments in Europe.
There are what?
About 1,000 indictments in Europe, but only 22 have been extradited or prosecuted. How come? What is your view on this? And connected to that question, Sweden has actually sentenced 3 Swedish Rwandese. What is your view on that, if I can have your comment? Thank you.
Yes, where indictments have or rather extradition has taken place, we applaud it because it is a sign that a step in the direction of justice has been taken. It's very important to note that, and we always applaud the people who facilitate that, or countries that make it happen. We appreciate that's fair, and it's good justice as to be seen. For the other, I will only say welcome to the developed world, which tells us how their systems work so well. They should be a model of everything, including justice. And that passes a judgment as to whether this is really the truth that we are told.
We'll take a question here at the front, please. Mr. Kakunzi.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Président. Looking back 25 years ago, and looking on the journey that Rwanda made since, what are the main choices made which can explain the rebirth of Rwanda? And you speak many times about accountability, about unity, about thinking big. What will be the big dreams for the 25 years coming ahead? Thank you very much.
Well, I would say Rwanda is coming together around the problems we have to address is key. It's one of the choices that have enabled us to make good progress. The fact that everybody, let's talk about, even for a moment, say, reconciliation we are about. Reconciliation is a process that has really taken root and has happened. But I did explain a little bit of that yesterday. It won't happen just on the effort of one party and not the other. It has happened because even the perpetrators coming forward and saying, we are sorry, what we did should not have happened. We now, it's like they are asking for a new opportunity to a new life. That is important, even for the perpetrator to ask for or show that remorse. So for the victim, or the survivors, of course, as I said, bear a much bigger burden, because in the end, that has to be accepted or not. So when they have made a choice to forgive, it brings, it completes the circle of reconciliation. And when you measure how far that has been achieved, I think we've gone a long way. So this is a hard choice in our lives that has had to be made, and fortunately Rwandans have been together in completing this circle. The other is for the entirety of the country to choose to look far ahead in the future rather than remain in the past. The past has many lessons for us. We keep learning, but we are not held back because of the past. We are attracted more into the future, and even made more possible by the involvement of everyone. now including actually that future, because as I said, close to 60% of our population are people who bear no responsibility of the past. So the young people who just learn about this and think more about their future is key. So we encourage that. We encourage making sure that every Rwandan is participating, is contributing, is thinking about the good of the whole country and the nation, not just about himself and the other for themselves. So I think it is it's one of those things that enables us to keep going.
We'll take one from the front, from Arifi.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour Monsieur le Président.
Bonjour.
Christophe Boisbouvier de Radio France Internationale. Si vous le permettez, je vous poserai ma question en français. C'est une question sur les relations entre le Rwanda et la France. On se souvient en 2004, lors des cérémonies du 10e anniversaire, vous vous êtes étonné que la France ne présente pas ses excuses. On se souvient en 2014, pour le 20e anniversaire, vous avez eu cette petite phrase en français, « Les faits sont têtus ». Et puis là, hier, on a remarqué que vous n'avez rien dit contre la France lors de votre discours. Est-ce à dire que les relations sont meilleures? Est-ce lié peut-être à l'arrivée d'Emmanuel Macron? Est-ce à dire que vous ne demandez plus à la France de présenter ses excuses?
I think what we have had to say, you see, there are things that you exhaust. When you have said enough of that, then you look for something else. Even according to you, what is the purpose of repeating yourself over the same thing? And indeed, in that small sentence I said in French, but also if you remember yesterday, I said that facts are stubborn. So once you've stated the fact, or like I said with the French sentence, that lives on for as long as the problem lives on. So does it make sense that I have to keep repeating it? Because if I have said it more than once or twice, then you assume it was for the purpose of reminding people, but you can't just keep reminding people. Sometimes you give them room to think for themselves.
Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, nitwa Divin Uwayo nkorera RBA. Nifuzaga kubabaza nyuma y'imyaka 25 ishize abanyarwanda n'u Rwanda bahangana n'ingaruka za genocide, igihugu kikiyubaka, ukurikije raporo mpuzamahanga ndetse n'izimbere mu gihugu ibyo zigaragaza, hari intambwe koko u Rwanda rwateye, unakurikije n'ibyo n'abasura u Rwanda bavuga, ariko hari impungenge za bamwe bavuga bati iyi myaka 25 ishize ibimaze kugerwaho n'u Rwanda ntibishobora gutuma habaho kwirara kuri bamwe, abantu ntibakomeza umuvuduko bari bariho. Niki musaba abanyarwanda muri rusange mu myaka 25 yindi iri imbere? Hanyuma akandi kabazo nakajyanye na komite iherutse gushyirwaho na Perezida w'Ubufaransa Emmanuel Macron ishinzwe kureba uruhare rw'Ubufaransa muri genocide yakorewe Abatutsi. Iriya komite murayivugaho iki? Ese u Rwanda hari uruhare rwayigizemo bijyanye n'ibyo koko mwari mwemeranyijwe mu rugendo muherukamo i Paris? Murakoze.
icya mbere cy'abanyarwanda ni ukutirara, nyine niho nahera. Ubundi abantu bakwirara ngo bigende bite? Harimo iki mu kwirara, havanamo iki? Ariko no kubwira abanyarwanda ngo bajye babanza nyine birebe, barebe, turebe ibitureba, ariko turebe n'iby'ahandi uko bimeze cyangwa uko bikora. Hanyuma niba hari amasomo twabivanamo tuyavanemo. Ariko kimwe mu byo tuzabona, tuzasanga ku isi hose nta hantu ibintu byera de, ku buryo ntacyo bakenera gukora cyangwa ku buryo nta kibazo bahura nacyo. Niba ku isi hose abantu bahura n'ibibazo byabo bakabikemura, bagakora amajyambere uko bikwiriye, no ukwiye kubona ko nawe ariko wabigenza. Ntabwo wakwirara, kuko niyo waba utera intambwe ugana imbere uhura n'ibibazo, ugomba kunyura mu bibazo kugira ngo ibyo bikomere. Nta mpamvu rero abantu bakwirara. Ariko abanyarwanda ni ukubakangurira guhora bubaka, ariko barinda n'ibyo bubaka kugira ngo ejo bitazasenyuka, abantu bahore batera imbere bubaka. Icya kabiri, ibyo yavugaga, komisiyo Perezida Macron w'Ubufaransa yashyizeho, ni bya bindi rusange by'ikibazo nari maze gusubiza, ngira ngo by'intambwe igaragara mu buyobozi bw'Ubufaransa mu gukemura icyo kibazo, kuko bagomba kuba habe n'ibindi bakora bikemura n'ibindi bibazo bibareba bitareba n'u Rwanda, ariko ku bireba u Rwanda icyo ngicyo navuga ko ari intambwe. Niba barateye iyo ntambwe, ubu ni uko bayitera kugira ngo n'ibindi bizagende neza. Ubwo umuntu yategereza tukareba uko bizagenda. Ngira ngo ariko byavutse biturutse ku muyobozi mushya, mu gihe gishya, no mu gihe gikwiriye kuranga imikorere itandukanye n'iyahozeho kera. Aho tugeze ibintu bishobora kuba neza kurusha.
Thank you, sir. Your Excellency, maybe could we take just two last questions and allow you to proceed?
Let's have as many as they want.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I'll have a question here at the front, please. Can we have a microphone?
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Carol Story, and I'm a photojournalist on behalf of The Guardian in the UK. It's unrefutable, really, that Rwanda has made remarkable progress these last 20 years since the genocide against the Tutsi. And I'm very curious as to what your view is, what the women that have been empowered in Rwanda has contributed to that remarkable recovery.
Women.
Women.
Yes. Women as a major part of our society. First of all, nowhere should they be left behind, in my view. Anywhere in the world, why would you leave women behind, or anybody for that matter? So what we, for us, did from the beginning, we realized that involving everyone, and particularly women as a big part of our society, is important. It's going to contribute to the development of our nation, because women, 52% of our population, it wouldn't be very smart to exclude 52% of one's population. Second, it's not just including them as a favor. it's their right. So we understood that from the beginning. So there is the benefit of having more people involved. As such, this 52% being part of what is being done is one of them. But there is another part of what these individuals bring in terms of what they are able to do with others. And they have their own qualities. We have had women in positions of responsibility, and they have done just as fine as men, if not better. So you look back and say, why would you be excluding women in the first place? Yes. So women, we are all human beings. These women are our mothers. So someone who takes care of you and brings you up and does everything, how do you turn your back? You know, there are many aspects you keep looking at and questioning, and you wonder what one would be doing to exclude women. So our case has proven many things that need to be looked at. So for us, we have had the pleasure of benefiting from involving all people generally, and specifically women who had been always left behind. Let me take an example of education. You would find some of the majority of our women never had the opportunity to be in school, to develop their talent and knowledge and be where anyone in the society wants to be. So the more you have them engaged, you know what that increases in the capacity of any country. So that is, and we have found they are as good as men, and boys and men are as good as, or women and girls are the same, they're there. So we are happy to have women, we have them. Even other places where they marginalize them, they have them. So, but for us, we are happier to have them useful as people we have invested in generally, but who are contributing largely to the output of the overall country potential.
Mr. President, my name is Sam Gituku from Citizen TV, Kenya. And yesterday you said that Rwanda has a place to claim. I'm wondering, what is that place of the East African community? At the same time, the EAC that you had, and one takes note that none of your colleague presidents attended the memorial. Is this confirmation of attention within the community? Connected to that, how far are you in resolving the disagreements, or is it tension with Burundi and Rwanda? Do you see a solution within the community? And if not, what are your options?
I'll start by saying that the community is in good health, irrespective of whatever aspects you may point to. Overall, I think the East African community is doing well. Even for all situations you say, well, there will always be issues to address. Even if all heads of state of the East African community would have been here as you and I would have wished, still there would be problems to address. That would not be a solution to all problems we have in East Africa. But East African countries, some of them were represented. You saw the Prime Minister of Tanzania here, so and others were represented in different capacities, not heads of state. So, but starting from that standpoint of saying East African community is in good health, it is in good health because we can even keep talking about our problems. We always meet and discuss problems, and also continue with the solutions that are there and trying to implement them in different perspectives. So I think as regards the East African community, that is all I can easily say.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Mon nom c'est Idriss Fall de la Voix de l'Amérique à Washington. L'ancien Zaïre a connu des guerres. L'Est de la RDC a connu des guerres, et toujours pour régler la question des rebelles FDLR, dont un des leaders passe en justice aujourd'hui à Kigali. Quelle solution maintenant pour l'insécurité dans l'Est de la RDC avec son nouveau président Félix Tshisekedi? Je vous remercie.
There is no other way of finding a solution to these problems, whether in DRC, Rwanda, or the whole region. DRC has 9 neighbors. There is not any of those 9 neighbors that does not have a thing or two they think needs to be addressed. There's none of the 9 neighbors of DRC do not have a thing or two to be addressed. So the best way to deal with that, to address those matters that may be arising out of DRC, affecting neighbors, or that may be coming out of the neighbors and affecting DRC, can be achieved without cooperation. People need to work together. There's no question about it. And recently, President Tshisekedi was here in Rwanda. We had a good discussion over that, and he said it himself, that he seeks to work with the neighbors of DRC to find a peaceful coexistence and to find solutions to the many problems that have been there in history, and that's where Rwanda and DRC also falls. We think we shall have more engagement and more commitments made to each other for us to be able to move in the right direction.
I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little on the well-established failure of the international community and the UN Security Council in particular, circa 1994, and comment as to whether over the past 25 years you have seen the kind of reform and changes, including the responsibility to protect doctrine, that would be necessary to prevent such a tragedy from occurring elsewhere in the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I can for sure say Rwanda has had its own lessons learned in the last 25 years, and those lessons learned have been very helpful, meaning among those lessons learned is the fact that we have to be there for ourselves, and we keep trying to do that, and then trying to make the most of any partnership or relationship that is available to us, and we keep going. For the international community, maybe they have also learned lessons. I'm not very conversant with that, but I can see some of the lessons they learned, yes, are responsible for some of the reforms that are talked about or that are being executed, but I'm not sure about implementation of even some of the reforms that are carried out. Some remain just as statements and on paper. In practice, you don't see much. But so the international community is very slow to learn or to change. Maybe individual countries can learn and change quickly. I think for us in Rwanda, we've learned and have tried to change as fast as we can.
My name is Patisani. I work for the Star newspaper in South Africa. Mr. President, we've seen a kind of seesaw in relations with South Africa. I think it started a couple of years back when there was an assassination of some Rwanda nationals there, and Rwanda was accused. Lately, we've seen Rwanda nationals having difficulties in getting visas to travel to South Africa. I would just like to know what is at the heart of those problems. And lastly, I know there is some Rwanda nationals that don't want to participate in the rebuilding of the country, living in South Africa.
In the what?
Living in Johannesburg in particular. Right. I just want to know how many of those are wanted here by law enforcement authorities. That how many of Rwanda nationals are living in South Africa that you would like to come here and face the law?
Okay, to begin with the last one, I think, first of all, there must be very few. I think you can count them maybe on one hand, or even fewer than 5. So there are not many, in my view, at least as far as I know. And South Africa has been notified, and the reasons and so on and so forth. So that is one problem. The second, I hope, and you asked about what the problem is, but the problem, I think, is always going to be politics. If people don't play too much politics, some of the problems could easily be resolved. And politics requires that you understand each other, and then you find a solution to whatever problems. So the assassination you talked about, then the visa problems, then this is what I'm putting all together and calling it politics. But even then, good politics, you discuss and you agree, and you agree or you agree to disagree, and you know where things stand and move on. But I should say, you saw it yourself, it was public, and there was a time where we had the pleasure of hosting the leaders of South Africa, and that question of visas came up, you remember. And rightly, the president of South Africa talked about a process that should be there to address whatever outstanding issues so that the visa problem does not. Because the problem of visas must be there because of other problems. But those other problems are the ones that were supposed to be addressed, even as of the. But I understand, I mean, as all you will understand, that process involves more officials than just one person. And I think it is in that process and with so many people that have to deal with the issue where the problem originates from. But I don't think that it's a lost cause. Generally, the relationship between Rwanda and South Africa, and a good relationship is not something any single person is just going to wish away and that is all over. I think time will come when Rwanda and South Africa will relate as well as they should, because we should be having a good relationship for many reasons. As being a good friend of South Africa and South Africa being a good friend of Rwanda. Some of these things we are talking about, they even think we are just crazy. And I'm sure if you did the same in South Africa, you went about, you live there, you ask these ordinary people and say, you will find they know Rwanda, have heard about it, and say, do you have anything against these Rwandans? Or what the problem is between Rwanda and South Africa? They tell you, no, they don't understand, they don't know. For them, so that's why I think it can be and will be easily addressed at some point.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think we may conclude here. I'd like to thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.